Okay, so number one, fable. A short story, typically with animals as characters conveying a moral. So example, I usually volunteer to read fables to preschool students in my neighborhood. So it means, just a story that has a meaning behind it, that teaches you something about life. So you know kind of the story of the three little piggies, the three pigs and the wolf, who blows,
yes.
that's a fable, because it teaches you a life lesson afterwards. Yeah. Boycott. To refuse to buy a product or take part in an activity as a way of expressing strong disapproval. So the subway boycott caused so much inconvenience to commuters. So a boycott is something you feel very strongly about. So you would stop doing it. So you could say boycott Samsung if you didn't like how they paid people or something. So it's something you very strongly feel is not good, so you stop it. Or boycott eating chickens, maybe because the conditions they live in is bad. So something you always feel strongly about, boycott. This one, the next one, foreground, is a bit strange for me. I personally wouldn't use it. So it's to emphasize an issue or a word. Before the program begins, we would like to foreground that opinions of the host do not come from the network. So I'd never heard this expression being used like this before. I would say preface or preface, P-R-E-F-A-C-E. I would say before I go ahead, let me preface that this is not my opinion. Foreground, it just means what to say before. Just something to say before. But I wouldn't be too concerned. It's not used very often. I mean, I'm 33 and never heard it. So. Seamstress, a woman who sews, especially one who makes her living by sewing. So example, my mother knows a good seamstress who lives just around the corner. Seamstress is always female. Always female. So a tailor would be the closest thing for a male. It does not have to be a professional. It can be someone who's just good at sewing. So you could say my mother's a good seamstress, my sister, or it can be a professional, but it's just someone who's good at sewing.
Yeah. The meaning is just good sewing.
Good at sewing, yes.
So even they didn't work at
yes,
that position,
they could be.
I can say
you could say, oh, my mother's a good seamstress. Yeah. Wantedly, accustomed usually. The wantedly quiet street becomes lively every New Year's Eve. So something that's the usual, that's normal, okay? You could say this, wantedly busy study room becomes quiet at weekends. So something usually, then you follow it up with something that's different. So this talks about quiet and then lively. So you'd say wantedly quiet, the place is usually quiet, but on New Year's Eve it becomes busy. So this study room is wantedly busy, but at the weekends it becomes quiet. So it's usually busy. Metaphor, the application of a word or phrase to an object or concept it does not literally denote, suggesting comparison to that object or concept. Example, Elisa uses metaphors to describe characters in the short story. So you could say something like, if you saw a really tall guy, you could say, that guy's as tall as a tree. He looks like a tree, he's so tall. Or someone with a really big head, you could say their head looks like a bus or something like just something you explain. Chastise, to criticize severely, reprimand or rebuke. The school will temporarily be closed to chastise all the students because of the school-wide cheating incident. So chastise is to very strongly discipline, to shout. So when you're chastised, it means someone's really shouting at you. So telling off, to tell someone off, can be soft or strong. Chastising is a very strong way of telling someone they are wrong. So you say your mother, if she caught you smoking when you were a child or something, she would chastise you. What are you doing? He's screaming.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Example, if